Welcome to another edition of the Daily Night. I am Brian Smith, joined by Stephen Leonard. Got a little recruiting talk, kind of off the cuff here. I know you're on campus right now, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. Outside the baseball stadium, it's still 0-0 against ECU. It's a fun game though. So
Nothing like a little baseball in the spring, man. It's always been one of my favorite things to do. So good for you. Just wanted to touch on a handful of the kids that are supposed to be at the spring game tomorrow as recruits. UCF has quite the list. I mean, I'm not going to go over everybody I've heard or looked at it on Twitter, etc. We would be here for 6 hours. It's insane. I want to highlight 10, 15 kids, just briefly touch on them, just to give a kind of roundabout idea to fans what's going on. So first off, you and I agree, Kavan is coming. He was UCF's first commitment on December 25th of this past year on Christmas Day. Defensive end / edge guy out of Apopka. It's always good, Stephen, to get guys back that are committed and just continue to come back because they help you recruit. Is not only they are being recruited, you want the whole thing. So what are your thoughts about Kavan coming back as often as he does?
Well, obviously it's great to have Kavan on campus, just because as like an ambassador to UCF.
Yeah.
I remember last year, Miguel Maldonado and Tommy Castellanos, they would come like every event. Those two would show up at.
They did.
And that really helped recruiting like Contavious Thompson last year. And it probably helped some like Georgia recruits like Tyler Griffin. So.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you want to support the place you're going. You want to play with good players. So good for Kavan, good for UCF, and there you go. On that note, another Orlando area guy that I don't even try to interview him or anything. He's probably beyond the point. He's going to take phone calls anyway. Malik Bryant from Jones High School. He was previously at IMG. He's an edge defender as well. He is an elite talent, class of 23 kid. I have no idea where UCF stands with him, to be honest with you. But if you get him on campus, you have a chance. That's kind of the general rule here. Are you surprised that he's coming or not so much?
I thought he was done with schools besides Alabama, Florida, and Miami, but it seems like he's not.
Yeah, that's why I bring it up.
Getting him on campus is a crazy opportunity for UCF, not just because of him being here, but because a 5-star coming on campus is like other recruits are going to be like, dang, UCF's like an option.
So. Oh, yeah, that's what I mean. Perception is half the battle in recruiting. There are kids that like will grow up and they will tell me like they hate a certain school, but when that school offers, if it's a named school, they go visit. Yeah. It's about perception to them, and that's just part of the gig. So a lot of kids grow up Florida fans, UCF fans, or whatever, but if Georgia or Alabama offer, even though they have no interest in general as a fan, they go visit. Yeah. So you have to look at that. So UCF's in a position where I think they should just keep recruiting him. The worst thing you can do is say no. Yeah. And Malik Bryant's a very good player for anybody that didn't know. Another defensive end, since we're on that, is from Lakewood High School in St. Petersburg, and that would be Isaiah Nixon. I previewed him on Inside the Knights recently. I've been communicating with him a little bit today, and he's going to be, I confirmed, and not that there was any surprise, that he's going to be at this weekend, or, you know, how many times has he been to campus and all that? He's been interested in UCF for a while, but he's another kid that has a Georgia offer. He's a national recruit, and he's one of those 6'4", 220 kids that looks thin. So what are your thoughts about Isaiah Nixon?
I've met him a couple times when he's been on campus. He definitely doesn't look as big as he actually is because of his frame is like a wiry type frame.
Yeah, that's a great way to define it. It absolutely is. Absolutely. Yeah, I look at him and I see a guy that's going to weigh 250 pretty easily. A lot of guys that ended up in the NFL in the last 30 years came out of high school between 210, 215, 220. He's somewhere in the 215, 220 range. Justin Tuck was that side. Peter Boulware was that side. Javon Curse was that size. These are guys that got paid a lot of money to play on the edge, and they were first.
His frame gives me Big Cat vibes.
Yeah, it's very similar. It really is. Big Cat was maybe a little more defined out of high school, but almost identical. Otherwise, he had him 5 or 10 pounds. But yeah, it's very similar. All right, that's one heck of a football player. And UCF's in really good shape with him right now, too. Speaking of good shape, UCF has Troy Ford coming on campus. And like with Kavan, that's good news. And you always want the commitments to come back. He's at Calvary Day School in Savannah. I was at his commitment ceremony not all that long ago. And he's also got a teammate coming along with him. Why don't you talk a little bit about one of his buddies, Michael Smith? I don't know as much about him, so I'll let you discuss it.
He's an athletic tight end, like a hybrid tight end wide receiver. He's going to make the full transition to tight end in college. More like kind of an H-back type player.
Okay.
2024 kid. I think he's ranked among the top 5 tight ends on most national companies have him as a top 5 tight end in the class.
That's a good start.
So yeah, it's good to see him back on campus because he was on campus 2 or 3 weeks ago now with their other teammate Terry Simmons the second. So.
Yeah, Terry's the D lineman that's a really talented player that UCF's recruiting. So once again, you're getting back the guy that's committed, which is always good, but they also have established they've been doing really good in Georgia in general. Let me just say that. They're the Atlanta area in particular, but they're Savannah, for people that don't know where it's at, that's down in southeast Georgia on the coast. There's a lot of talent there, and it's untapped, so good for them. A kid that's more local, Braden Marshall, I've communicated with him today, and I know you know him. He plays at Lake Mary. He's a corner. He's got an offer from Clemson, amongst others, just to show the validity of his talent. He's going to be at UCF this weekend, barring something unforeseen. I mean, it's always possible he doesn't show like anybody else. What do you think about the situation with Braden?
Well, obviously we talked on Kavan coming back to campus. It's big. His best friend is Braden Marshall.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, that friendship is pretty big.
That's a really good nugget. That's a good nugget. Thank you.
Braden wanted the UCF offer for like a year and didn't get it until quite recently. I think it was like a month or 2 ago.
Right, he did.
That he finally got offered by UCF.
That's hilarious.
But he's an elite local kid. He's gonna talk to you. Like he's gonna tell you like I'm gonna lock you up as a DB. So
yeah, that's a typical Florida kid for you right there. That's okay though.
Yeah,
if you're gonna play corner, you're gonna get beat sometimes. You got to have some confidence because you got to turn around and do it again. So
yeah, DB, you want confidence. You even want overconfidence as a DB.
To a certain degree, I just don't see how you can't look at it that way. So I think that's pretty interesting. Real quick, back in my neck of the woods, I live in Tampa. Some of the kids that I know very well at Carrollwood Day School are going to be there, including DJ Pickett, who is arguably the most athletic kid I've ever seen. It's just insane. He's 6'3.5" and still plays corner. Class of 2025. I would take him right now, no questions asked. Tavoy Fagan, his dad played at Alabama, is coming, and CJ is also coming. He is an absolute jitterbug, slot receiver, all from Carrollwood Day, and now DJ's at Zephyr Hills, but he might come back. They're all elite players. If you start getting all these underclassmen on campus, kind of like the situation with the kids that are committed that are coming back, it's the same principle. You build a relationship, and it's not going to hurt. The more times you get a young man on campus, the more likely it is for that young man to eventually select your institution. So I didn't know they were coming, and I know them, but they're quiet kids. They don't say a whole lot. Are you surprised UCF is able to get so many kids from all over Florida? Because Miami Spring Game is also tomorrow. Florida actually moved their spring game, which was kind of an interesting thing. They did it on a Thursday. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. That's kind of unique. I guess I get it, but I don't know. That's unique because a lot of fans can't make it, but whatever. Are you surprised?
I think they have 45,000 still, but
how many?
I understand Florida moving it to Thursday because of the congestion in Florida for spring games this weekend.
I get that part.
But I definitely am surprised that they're getting guys like CJ and DJ Pickett, CJ Lewis and DJ Pickett on campus over Miami.
Yeah.
DJ Pickett, I watched him at the 7-on-7 tournament in Plant City, and I don't understand how a man that big. I guess he's a kid. Like he's like 14.
He can't
15.
drive a car. He just turned 15.
Yeah,
literally. He just turned 15.
So he just turned 15, and he is built bigger than probably every senior in the country.
There's literally not a 6'3.5" corner in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's a freshman in high school.
I like him more as a safety prospect.
Long term, sure.
Yeah.
Because he'll probably still grow.
Yeah.
He could end up being a receiver, but he has tremendous ball skills. He has the ability to drive on the ball. He runs like a guy that's 5'9", and he knows what to do once his ball is in his hands.
I've only ever seen him get beat once.
I've seen him get beaten more than that, but I've seen him probably more than anybody, and he always goes against the other team's best player. Never complains, just goes out and does his job. Love those kids. So love those kids. One of the kids at Jones that I didn't mention a minute ago, I probably should have, but he's a 24 prospect, is Deandre Robinson, the defensive tackle. UCF is trying to get a couple of the key D tackles. They're over at Osceola High School. You and I both know that's difficult, but you got to recruit him. Robinson's in the same situation. Now can you do that in the next class? You just keep trying and trying. They've got to kind of break through with this local thing. It seems like they get some of the kids further away for some reason a little bit easier right now, but there's a lot of talent close. Deandre, I don't know how many times he's been to campus, but that's a kid you got to recruit until he signs somewhere else.
Yeah, I've seen him on campus 3 times.
Okay, then he's serious about you.
He's definitely been here more than that, like last year too, but I just wasn't paying attention to 2024s at the time. But yeah, he's definitely been on campus 3 times that I know of, and him and Sincere are pretty close. Sincere Edwards, the other 2024.
Yeah, since you mentioned him, he's kind of an edge tweener guy that plays at Kavan High School, the same place where the defensive back for UCF is from, and that's in Apopka, just north of Orlando. Sincere is a pass rusher, edge guy. I think he'll end up being a strong side defensive end in college. Great kid. And he's been to campus I don't even know how many times. And I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that UCF is the leader there just because he seems like he's at UCF at least once a month. Like,
he's been here 5 times this year.
That's what I mean. That's extensive. You know,
it'll be
more than
6
once
tomorrow. So
yeah, it's 1.5. That's once every 3 weeks, pretty much, that he's coming. So if you can start getting kids like that, he's going to have 30 offers. You start getting kids like that along the D line that he could be a Lee Hunter type player at his position, that changes your program. So UCF is doing a good job with that. And that is a local kid. They need one of those guys to make, especially if he would commit early. And I have no idea what Sincere's timeline is. I'm not saying that I do. But
I interviewed him this year, I think 3 weeks ago now. And he said he wanted to commit sometime at the end of the year.
That's fair. Probably after his junior season's concluded.
Yeah, after his junior year's up.
No, that's cool.
He's also good friends with Kavan. So
yeah, he'd mentioned that to me when I messaged with him. So yeah, that's hilarious that all these kids know each other, even though they don't even play at the same high school. They run into each other quite a bit.
Well, I mean, they live in the same city.
Yeah, it's they're rival schools. A lot of times that causes issues. That's all my point is.
Yeah.
One of the kids that I find interesting that's supposed to be here again is Randy Pittman, the tight end from Mosley High School in Panama City. What's he been here? 6 times? Something like that. We saw him last year at camp. He's a heck of an athlete, by the way. He can really make people miss in space for his size. He's kind of an H-back guy. He's technically committed to Florida State, but that I've used that term extremely sarcastically. Look, at some point, it's just a name.
Committed. Yeah, the air quotes were very.
Yeah, I mean, come on, you're it is what it is. I think a lot of kids would like to go to Florida State, but they're only going to go if Florida State plays well this year, and that's how I would view it too, because that staff is teeter-tottering on being the hot seat. You can only be a 7-5 team or thereabouts at Florida State for so long. They're going to.
They haven't even been a 7-5 team. They're a 5-7.
I know I'm being nice today. I like their head coach. He seems like
he's
a
a
nice
good guy.
You know what I mean? You kind of root for him. But man, how hard is it at freaking Florida State? And y'all just can't block anybody up front. They got skill guys. Offensive line's a problem. Quarterback is a disaster because week to week you don't know what you're getting. So I think Pittman could be a kid that they end up flipping somewhere if Florida State starts out as bad as I think. And by the way, for people that don't know, Florida State's schedule is set up where they play a lot of teams with good quarterbacks early in the year. Yeah, I don't feel good about their circumstances in Tallahassee. I hope I'm wrong, but it'd be better for college football. Florida State was at least formidable, 8-4 and above. Right now, I'm not so sure that's the way that's trending. And that's being very kind. One last kid I want to mention, and again, we could go on for hours. And this is a player I think has as high an upside as any player in the country because he's only been in football at the position he's at for a little less. Let's see, this is April, so about 8 months. And that's Tyler Williams. For those of you who don't know, he transferred over from one of the high schools over in Polk County to Lakeland, and he'd always played quarterback. He didn't win the quarterback job at Lakeland last fall. They just said, we got to get him on the field. He's a great, great athlete. They throw him at receiver. He has no idea what he's doing. So, of course, the first game, he goes out and scores like 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign when you know nothing and you dominate. That I will go with every time. So Tyler is supposed to come on campus. I don't think UCF is really in the picture, but that's why visits are important. You can change that in the blink of an eye. And this is a 6'3" and a half kid that is super twitchy, very long, and absolutely can fly. If you want to watch an entertaining film, don't watch his football film. Go find the huddle film for Tyler Williams in basketball. He's dunking like this. I mean, he can absolutely jump out of the gym, and it's his actual favorite sport. So I know you and I have heard different things about him, but he's a kid that doesn't say – I know him. He just doesn't say anything, so I go to other sources. Talking to him, I get less than I do talking to somebody else. What do you know about Tyler Williams?
Well, he was the all-region player of the year in basketball, if I'm not mistaken, for
that's a good start.
His region. And I think he was second in all-state voting, only behind Taylor Hendricks, who is obviously committed to UCF.
The irony there is pretty good, buddy. It's pretty good.
And from the videos and stuff they've been putting out, I think he's being recruited as a dual sport athlete too. Because he's been taking recruiting pictures in UCF basketball stuff.
I mean, that could be part of it because, like, hypothetically speaking, Miami or Georgia or Texas or something like that. I don't even know all the offers he has. They're probably not going to want him running around a basketball court.
Yeah,
but it's not. Now, I could be wrong. There are schools, Jeff Samardzija was a baseball pitcher at Notre Dame, and he was a great receiver. But that's the exception, not the rule. So most coaches want their guys around for spring ball.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see if that becomes a quote-unquote a part of his recruitment, because if he narrows it to schools that do both, his list will shrink really fast, and UCF could be right there for his services. So.
But like you were saying, obviously he's only been a wide receiver since the last week of August.
Yeah, I mean, he has no idea what he's doing yet, and he's already really good.
He's not a clean route runner yet, but that's to be expected.
His upside is just insane.
Yeah, like you were saying, probably the highest upside of anyone, at least
Prove
in
me
Florida.
wrong. Well, I mean, if you're the highest in Florida, that's good enough for me. They had more people drafted last year than any other state, 37. Yeah. So, yeah, he's used to going against real competition. He plays 7A football. He's from Polk County. He's a great basketball player. And I've seen him from 5 feet away, just like you have. That was the Davenport tournament we were at. And I've seen him other times too. But holy moly, can he run around. He is an athlete. So.
Yeah. I believe he was at Winter Haven before as the quarterback, which is the same high school as Josh Seliscar.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hey, man, you don't know. You just don't know. There's a possibility of that. So you just keep recruiting guys and see what happens. But anyway, Steven, I appreciate it. Sounds like the baseball game is having some fun back there. That's what college sports are all about right there, man. That's what college sports are all about.
I was either going here or the softball game today. So.
Now, there you go. Everybody, thank you very much. We're going to have the spring game. It's going to be a lot of fun. And on Saturday, I expect to see a lot of different things with recruits. Hopefully we get some commitments in the near future. I'll predict we'll get 2 within the next week because that's kind of a traditional thing when you get a bunch of visits. But I really don't know because kids are kids. So keep that in mind. Please like and subscribe, and everybody be good. Thank you very much, Stephen, for coming on. We'll do this again very soon, my friend.